What stood out? As he looked back at the weekend for his baseball team, sounded like he was really pleased with the pitching as well.
Yeah, he was. I thought what stood out for me was how candid he was about confidence, that, they had gone through some ups and downs this year and they had some low moments, and I guess that's to be expected. But for him to come out and say it, it shows you that I think it's what he wouldn't have said that if they were still having the low moments, if they were still in a lull. So maybe he believes his team is about to snap out of it and start playing the kind of baseball we all thought they would be playing back in February when the season started. But he did sound pleased with the pitching. And from a starting perspective, how could he not be? All three guys did really well, and we'll see if they can continue that momentum this weekend in Oxford.
Borky, anything stand out to you from Chris Lemonis, kind of as he looks at his team and knows that there's a lot of work still to be done?
Oh, yeah. It was, unfortunately, the injury update or lack thereof. What those prognoses are will be massive one way or the other for this team moving forward. Because like Haydad said earlier, you can't do they've turned the corner thing after one weekend. Now, you saw a lot of positives, a lot of good to take away. That's not diminishing the weekend. It was a good one. You want to see that happen again. And if it happens this weekend, then we start having a different conversation. But the potential of losing two more pitchers from this staff already is, that would be so difficult to overcome and climb out of the little bit of a hole that they found themselves in. Whenever news on that becomes official one way or the other, will really not define the team. That's a little strong, but will define the way you should think of the last few weeks or what you should expect from them the last few weeks, I think.
Yeah. A depleted staff that you got to wait and see, right?
Yeah.
I was not aware of potential injury with Parker Stinnett. Hey, Dad, when did that happen? Was that in game one on Thursday?
Yeah, that's the rumor anyway, that he is that he got injured as well. Sort of the same thing that happened from what if it is true, if that rumor is true, and I was just sort of fishing there, to be totally honest. But it'd be sort of similar to Stone Simmons, right, where Simmons pitched an inning, came off the mound, nobody knows anything's wrong with him, and the next thing you know, he's hurt. So we'll see if it's the same thing for Stinnett as well.
Yeah. We get a message. We talked about this a little bit earlier ago, and somebody said you guys may have talked about it already, but most pressure to win this weekend, State or Ole Miss. We kind of went at it from a different angle. We talk about who are the stakes the highest for. I don't know. Maybe we should have phrased it in terms of pressure, because I do think the most pressure falls on the Ole Miss side of things. Maybe you could argue that the stakes are higher for Mississippi State after that series win, to kind of climb back a little bit, another series win, and you're kind of moving towards solidifying your place in the SEC tournament and closer to that postseason. Although, as we talked about last week, so much work to do from an RPI standpoint. There's still a long – so for Mississippi State, it's a combination of you got to get to a minimum of 13, but really probably need 14. But you also need to see the RPI move in the right direction, because right now you're 40 spots from having an at-large RPI to go along with a certain number of wins.
Yeah, I feel like the focus needs to just be wins right now. You can't really do anything about the RPI. All you can do is win games. You can't change the schedule and go put a series together with Texas or Texas Tech or somebody right now in the middle of the season. So, what's the magic number? Is it 13? 13 with a low RPI might not be enough. So it's probably 14. A 14-win SEC team is probably going to get in, regardless, maybe even regardless of RPI. And if you win 14 games, and that would be 8 more SEC wins, you'd finish, 8-7? Yeah. Am I right there? I think so. I think you would probably get in at that point. I feel like at 14-16, I can't do the math in my head to know what the overall record would be at that point. I feel like you'd be in. I feel like it would be close. They might be a 3 seed in a really good
21
regional.
And 16 right now, so does that get you to like 35 and 23 going into the SEC tournament?
No,
and that's not
29,
factoring in midweek games.
That would be 8 more wins, so they'd be 29 and 23, right?
Not counting the midweek games that are remaining.
Right. So yeah, they'd be something like, if they won all of those, which I feel like they need to. That includes the Governor's Cup, but 32 and 23, something like that. 33 and 23.
Yeah,
that team's probably in. They're probably in.
Does brand power matter? I mean, that's a question that you can't quantifiably answer, but I assume benefit of the doubt. Look, if I was in the room, wouldn't you want to give benefit of the doubt to reigning national champion team from the SEC West when you're talking about like the last group of teams in? Wouldn't you prefer it be somebody like that as opposed to, NC State or that horrible example? Horrible example. Yeah, just the worst.
NC State doesn't need to get left out.
Just the worst. Ohio State. Because in baseball, that's not a brand at all.
Some low mid major that's had a good season and didn't win the at-large.
Yeah,
Wichita
State
could steal a bid from them. Yes, State could steal a bid from a team like that. Because I think that the NCAA is human, and they sometimes they do make those decisions. Now, I'm sure there'll be a lot of message board conspiracy theories about John Cohen and his place on the selection committee if that happens. And there's, well, I know that, and you know that, but Rebel 42069 doesn't know that, so he has to continue with his conspiracy.